listen, today we're going to use like some critical analysis, right? We're going to use some analytical thought process and thinking to this as well. But there's going to be some critical analysis. If you are a Raptors fan that has problems, respectfully, you're just not really trying to hear anything critical about your basketball team, it's cool. You can go. You can go and listen to the nice guys. But like today's not gonna be some nice guy things. There are gonna be some nice things in there. I'm gonna attack this from an objective perspective. But bruh, we finished the season 25-57. How nice do you want me to be? Okay? How nice do you want me to be? Because I've always built this channel as a fan's opinion channel, right? I never want to make it like, oh, breaking news. Kyle's gonna come and give you the news and just read it like I'm a sports center or something. Nah, Regin. This is my opinion from a fan's perspective. We went 25-57. Down the stretch, if you want to call it that, we were 2-19 in our last 21 games. Okay, we went 1-15 against Atlantic Division opponents. All right, like we had what, a 17 game, oh sorry, I think it was a 16 game losing streak, 15 game losing streak, almost tied the Raptors franchise record for 17 losses in a row. Some of the different things that we've seen throughout this season, we let the Pistons break the record or not break the record due to our expense. This is going to be an unloading of my opinion and my feelings on the team. Okay, they weren't good this year. They weren't good this year, and that deserves context. But I want to start off this way. Okay, I listened to all the player interviews, the exit interviews on the season. I listened to Darko Rajakovic in his exit interview. I listened to Masai Ujiri in his exit interview. And there was one thing that was glaring to me, maybe outside of Masai Ujiri, to be honest with you. But there was one thing that was glaring to me with this Raptors team. And it speaks volumes in terms of what I saw on the court this year. And again, everything deserves context, so I'm going to give context to it also. But one thing that I see, and this isn't a shot at any of our players. This isn't a shot at the coach. This is about team building. All right? This is about team building. We have a whole lot of nice guys on this team. A whole lot of nice guys. Okay? A whole lot of good guys. A whole lot of company guys. Let that sink in. Not to say that's a bad thing, right? Not to say that that's a bad thing. You need to have different perspectives, different personalities when you are building out a team. Now, I realize that this is a rebuild of sorts. Some may call it a retool and things of that nature. But really and truly, the last dog that we had on this team that went out the door, with all due respects to OG Anunoby, because I look at him as a dog too. But like the last real dog that we had on this team was Fred VanVleet. The last real dog. Like what I'm saying is, when I listen to like these exit interviews, you're just hearing like all the positivity and all the things that we can build on. And you know, things didn't go that great for us this year, but we had all these injuries and all type of thing. And that's real with context, right? I get it. But you want to know what I wanted to hear as a fan? I wanted to hear someone say like, this season was trash. Yes, there was a lot that, you know, we could have built on us, but I'm mad. I'm mad. I can't wait to get back to work and start working on my game. I can't wait to just, you know, start over fresh and work towards next season. I can't wait to get in the gym because last season was trash. If I'm wrong and you disagree with me, that's cool. Put it in the comments. That's just how I feel. A dog would have said, this season was trash. Okay? This season was trash. And the man them said it. Okay? The man them said it on the exit interviews. It was not a good season. Things didn't go our way. All like the politically correct responses. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted something to like get me hyped for next season. You know what I mean? I want something to get me hyped for next season. Like, yo, I can't wait to get back in the gym, yo. I'm gonna take a couple days off and I'm going right back in the gym. That's what I wanted to hear. Now, they only interviewed Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Kelly Olynyk, Grady Dick. And one thing that the Raptors really bothered me too, okay, since we're talking about the exit interviews. So when they actually had the player exit interviews, right? And you could watch it live. I think I watched it on like the TSN app or something. Like I was busy doing some other work, so I was listening to it in the peripheral. Them interviews was way longer than what y'all posted on YouTube, on your YouTube channel, Toronto Raptors. With all due respect, I ain't trying to be out here beefing and calling you out. I'm just a little guy. No one cares about what I think for the most part. You know what I'm saying? But like, y'all know that there was way more to those interviews than what y'all posted. Important pieces, nuggets that the fans needed to hear. Not everybody could move themselves away from work from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock during the day to listen to the Raptors exit interviews, right? People are out here working on the job. They're doing construction. They're driving buses. They're working in the factory. They're working in the office. You know what I'm saying? People got things to do. Your teachers, like people that work during the day. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody can listen to the exit interviews from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Y'all cut out a lot of stuff. It just so happens that I was listening to it, but I wasn't really listening to it. And then now that I had time this morning, I went back and listened to everything, and I'm like, yo, where was this, and this missing from the interviews? That like a whole lot of people are never gonna get the context on some of that conversation because y'all went and cut it out the interview. Where was Jakob Pertl's interview on the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel? Where was it? Yo, whether you believe Jakob Pertl is going to be a part of this team next year, because there's also like conversation around. I'm hearing fans and people saying it. The Raptors should trade Pertl, this, that, and the third. I'm against it. Number one, right? I'm against it. I'll get to it once we start talking about Pertl. But the Raptors know what they did, Doc. They know what they did. All right. Now, whether those orders came from, I don't know where they came from, but it happened. All right. So whatever. It is what it is, right? Maybe you cut it down because it's just like too much. But like really and truly, I wanted to hear everything that I heard on Tuesday, whatever day that was, for those exit interviews. I didn't get the opportunity. It is what it is. This is the type of season that we're dealing with. And I know like Raptors fans, listen, yo, I haven't really covered it. I'm gonna have a separate video for the Jonte Porter business, yeah? A separate video for it. So stay tuned for that one, right? If you're new, please like, share, subscribe, all that type of stuff, right? Please like the video, get it out in the algorithm. Okay, so exit interviews. Okay, I'm hearing a whole lot of nice guys on this team, and man's just saying things in a politically correct way. And I think one of the things that the Raptors are going to have to address in the offseason is getting some dogs, yo. Getting some dogs. And for the most part, when you look at the interviews that they actually posted on YouTube, right? Why is it that Kelly Olynyk had like the best interview, in my opinion, in terms of talking about basketball and things of that nature? Why is it? Is it because that he is considered a vet? I think he's 32 years old. Maybe that could be like a legit reason as to why. And these young guys are trying to find their footing and things like that, right? And I know a lot of people have been talking about the joke about how he said Scottie Barnes has fragile hands. let me say something really quickly about Scottie Barnes, okay? This is like basically the debriefs of the season, so I might be moving around a little bit. But since we're on the topic of Scottie Barnes, I'm gonna say something right now, okay? Masai Ujiri called Scottie Barnes a star in the league. I think that's fair. He made the All Star team. Basically, averaged what 29, 20, no, 19.9, I think, points per game. Damn near 10 rebounds, like something like 6 assists, something like that. Plus block steals across the board. He's putting up numbers. Okay, love me some Scottie Barnes. They also mentioned in the exit interviews that one of the things that they want Scottie Barnes to work on is strength in his lower half of his body. Now, if you go back to Raptors Flex Plus at the beginning of the season, I talked about this as being a potential thing that I would like to see Scottie Barnes work on, because they talked about all of the strength and stuff that he built in his upper body. They talked about the conditioning and stuff that he did last summer, right? Those were all things that he worked on going into this summer. But one of the things that always worried me about Scottie Barnes, okay? I think he's like an injury guy. He's like an injury guy waiting to happen. And I know I'm not trying to be like negative and stuff like that. I just feel like Masai Ujiri and the Raptors front office, they're recognizing this. They're recognizing this because I can't count them up. I don't have the instances, and it may not even be on like the official injury reports and things of that nature. But how many times have we seen Scottie Barnes tweak an ankle and come up limping throughout the game and then come back in the game? He might just like go to the sideline for a second, or he might just stay in the game. But it felt to me like he's always tweaking something. He's always tweaking something. And the type of injuries that he gets, they're like freak injuries, and I get that. And Scottie Barnes also said that in his exit interviews. You know, but like, listen, man, Scottie Barnes needs to get. How do I say this? Actually, no, never mind. Scottie Barnes needs to get like stronger in terms of how he's approaching the game. Or I shouldn't say stronger, smarter in terms of how he's approaching the game. Now, I'm sitting here, I have no idea what this guy's nutrition situation is. I have no idea who his trainers are or how hard he works. The Raptors keep telling me that this guy works as hard as can be. But remember, the playoff series against Philly, Scottie got hurt. End of the season now. We're about to make a run to go into the 10th, maybe try to get into a plane. Scottie gets hurt. Listen, man, I like Scottie Barnes. I like Scottie Barnes, but he's sounding like a player that they're trying to force to be a leader, but he's not a natural born leader. What I want to see from Scottie Barnes, truthfully, it looks to me like Scottie's not comfortable being a leader. He's not a natural born leader. You know what I mean? And this is what it goes back to when I'm talking about roster construction and things like that. He's not like naturally born leading, right? Something that you just have in your gut and in your belly to do. And I know the Raptors put him in a difficult situation where, you're asking him to be one of the leaders on the team when there's already vets there from a previous regime, from a previous era that were in front of him that he was looking up to and learning from. But I just felt like coming into the season, there was no doubt. There was no doubt that he was going to be a leader on this team. So what were you doing to better yourself as a leader the first couple seasons in the league? At least year two, maybe not year one, but at least year two. That means that you're probably sitting back thinking, oh yeah, Fred's gonna come back. Fred's the leader on this team. I don't need to do all that. And sometimes things just happen faster than you expect them to, and you gotta learn on the fly. And that's probably what's happening with Scottie Barnes. But like, I just think that this team needs some real dogs, man. Like, man, they need some real dogs. They need some real dogs. Okay. Now, Scottie Barnes talked about how he wasn't frustrated with getting injured, but like the only thing that frustrated him was the losing part of it. Like, I like that, the back end of that statement. But like, bruh, how me how are us as fans frustrated for you that you got hurt and you ain't frustrated? That statement tells me that you're not really being honest in like a forthcoming way, right? Because you were frustrated that you were losing, and the reason why you were losing was because you got injured. Now, maybe there's some good to come out of this for him in particular, right? Because they talked about how much he's learning now from watching the game through a different lens. And this is also something that I've been talking about for months in terms of watching film, in terms of just becoming a junkie of learning the game without actually being on the court sometimes. Like, that's what the greats used to do, the Kobe Bryants and obviously LeBron James, the guys like that, Dirk Nowitzki's, whoever, Tim Duncan. Watching film, watching the game, learning. And I like that Scottie's asking questions to Darko Rajakovic, saying like, "Yo, are we in this defensive coverage and stuff like that?" Because Darko talked about that as well in terms of Scottie's leadership and how it's grown, right? But I don't know. Like, I think there's a difference between natural born leaders and guys that just develop into a leader, yo. And I think this team could use a natural born leader on the squad, right? Usually it's like at the point guard position, but maybe that's a little old school. Leadership can come from any position, to be honest, right? And I made a short earlier in the year talking about leadership and like where are the leaders on the team. And maybe this younger team now that we have in place will be able to see the leadership exemplify a little bit more through next season, when now this is at top of mind. Because when you listen to all the exit interviews, Scottie's leadership, Scottie's leadership, Scottie's leadership, Scottie's leadership. Just a mad question on Scottie's leadership. What if Scottie doesn't want to lead the way that you want him to lead? Maybe he's not as capable to lead the way that you want him to lead. Generally, those things are reserved for guys that just naturally have it in their belly, yo. And maybe the learning process is how to communicate that better. And again, you heard guys saying it as well. Scottie just being vocal on the bench, Scottie being vocal in practice. Love those things about those types of players. But like, I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't feel it personally. I just don't feel it. It's not like the feeling's not there for me right now. You know what I'm saying? The feeling's not there. But maybe it will. Maybe it'll get there. I'm not too sure. But like, basically the whole team's talking about defense. You gave damn near 119 points per game. And to be honest with you, I thought the defense was good at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, this was a good to solid defensive team. So what happened? Why did it fall apart? This is one reason why I say to everybody that Jakob Poeltl is an important piece to this Raptors squad. Two most important players, in my opinion, Scottie Barnes and Jakob Poeltl. We know what Scottie Barnes brings to the table. Why Jakob Poeltl? Well, Jakob Poeltl is literally the anchor to your defense. Once Jakob Poeltl went out, every time basically this man went out with an injury, you see our defense start to suffer and go downhill. He was so important to what we were doing defensively that we just could not afford to lose him. Could not. Which is why when fans are sitting here saying that we should trade Jakob Poeltl, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Now, if you want to get another big, let's say you find a guy in the draft and he comes along a little bit faster midway through the season than what you thought that he could or would, and then there's an opportunity to trade Pirtle, sure. But in the off season, are you kidding me? That's literally like a death sentence for your defense. Literally a death sentence for your defense. This guy anchors the whole thing, anchors it. And let's be real, he was a tragedy at the beginning of the season when defenses were drawing him out to the 3-point line. But as the season progressed and he got a little bit more comfortable in those defensive schemes, Jakob Poeltl was no longer a liability on defense on the perimeter. And now he's already a lockdown defender inside. You know what I'm saying? He's not sweet on the inside. He can defend, he can bow up, he can battle down there. By far our best rebounder. And we know how much this team has struggled with rebounding in the past, which is why we went and made the trade for Poeltl to begin with. I know a lot of fans are upset in terms of what we gave away to get Poeltl, but like none of that matters right now. It doesn't. You have a guy on defense that you're paying him about what 20 million or so, give or take. I think it's 19.8 million. But like for a guy that anchors your defense and shoots damn near 70% at the rim, I like it. I like it. Now, the problem I have with Jakob Poeltl, number one, Raptors, y'all cut out the exit interview, so whoever didn't see it from 10 to 2 didn't hear him say this. I'm not sure if the writers went and put it in print or whatever, but the man said his hand is not healed. His hand is not healed. He has not been cleared by the doctors to do basketball activities with his hand. One of the big things that we need for Jakob Poeltl to work on in the offseason is stretching the floor. And I'm not even saying that he needs to go out and shoot the three right now. Sure, that would be fantastic and lovely. If you want to start there, that's cool too. But the Raptors offense runs a lot of stuff through the elbows. You know what I'm saying? They run a lot of stuff through the wings, through the bigs. You need to be a threat. You need to be a threat to put a shot up. Because Mats could just sag off of you all they want, and when you got to put the ball on the floor, you are a liability when you got to put the ball on the floor. Liability. Whenever Poeltl gets it on just a dive and just a straight lay-in, butter. I'll take it every day of the week because he's shooting damn near 70% on that. Real talk. But you're limited in what you can do, which is why fans are saying trade him. Now, first of all, maybe the Raptors, like now that I think about this, maybe the Raptors took down that interview because that hurts any trade value and stuff that they might have with him coming on saying his wrist is still broke up and he ain't get no clearance from the doctors yet. You know what I'm saying? But I heard it. He said it. So as a fan, I'm saying if you need to work on your ability to stretch the floor and at least be a threat to shoot from mid to long range this off season as one of the things that you need to work on, but you can't start that process yet because you're still hurt, I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that. But I like the other things that he brings to the table. He just needs to expand that part of his game. And he could do it. I said it on the last episode. I watched Valanciunas do it. If Valanciunas could do it, well, I shouldn't even say that because Valanciunas was a better free throw shooter than you all the way around, Jakob Poeltl. That's another thing you need to work on also. Can you like somehow get into like the low 70s or something with your free throw shooting? Because you're a liability there too. So for fans that are saying trade him, I get it. I disagree. There's things that he can work on. These are all correctable things. These are all things that I've seen bigs work on and perfect, especially in this era of basketball, right? Where bigs are now expected to do some of the things where Poeltl is currently a limitation. I have no problem with it. Now, again, he anchors your defense, but again, uh, Rajakovic and Masai Ujiri, they're all talking about through the offseason they want mans to work on defense. I was scratching my head, man, because I'm like, yo, how the hell do you work on defense? I'm dead serious. Individually. Now, there might be a way. I'm not a coach, right? I've never gone to any coaching clinics. From my time coming up playing basketball, the only, like, there's two things that I think, maybe three things. Three things that make a good defender. One is just the natural want to, the natural need to, the natural desire to be a good defender, right? I used to get off on that as a player. I used to get off on that, right? Like, in my last year of senior basketball, I was probably the second best player, like, on the team, right? They had, like, my brethren, one of my good brethrens, right? Played college basketball, all these type of things, right? He went on, did great things playing basketball. Um, but anyways, he was the best player on the team. But, like, I take some credit in making him better because in practice, I was in his ass. I was in his ass. Pause. But I was in him, dog. Pause. Defensively. I enjoyed shutting him down when I shut him down. Now he'll tell you if he listens to this right now, yo, dog, you never shut me down. Stop your lies. Yeah, he nabbed my food too. But yo, you gotta work to get whatever you got against me. It's a mentality. It's a want to. It's a desire. It's in your belly. You have it or you don't. OG Anunoby has it. Right? That's the one thing out of three that you need to have to be a better defender. I'm not sure how you work on that in the off season. Not sure how you do it. I'll leave it at that. The next thing that you need to work together as a team to be good defensively. Because, I mean, this ain't the big three. You know what I'm saying? This ain't the big three league. We're talking about the NBA. So you got 5 offensive players, 5 defensive players. You need to work as a team on the defense to execute the defensive scheme, to execute the game plan of the coach in order to be a better defender. Right? Now, not everybody has that ability to be a great defender, which is why it's important to have guys on the back end like a Poeltl to help clean up some of the mess. Right? That's why you see Defensive Player of the Year, a lot of time it goes to a big. It goes to a big because they're blocking shots. They are altering shots at the rim, right? They are rebounding, which basically helps you to get out into the fast break and set up your offense. They're creating space for others to rebound. They are shutting down the other team's star player when they try to drive to the basket. So now you got to try to get everything outside. That's why you see bigs, in my opinion, getting Defensive Player of the Year more than any other position in the league, which is why it was so astonishing when you see a player like Michael Jordan. Not going to get into this whole 90s 2000s debate right now, but Michael Jordan was a defensive player of the year, but also being like one of the best players in the league at the time. You know what I'm saying? If not the best. I forget what year it was, so I don't want to say whether he was the best or not that year. Right? But it's not often you see wing players and guards getting that trophy. It's not often. So you have to work together as a team. I also like the fact that you have a big on the back end. But to me it's team defense. It's team defense. So I kept hearing that the man them are gonna get together in the summer and they're gonna work. I'm all for that. Maybe that's one way you get better at defense, because I'm not sure how you do it individually when you need to just have that know-how. The third thing that you need as a defender, in my opinion, aside from those two things, you need conditioning. You need conditioning and strength. So that's your body. You know what I'm saying? That's your body. Now I know that you're talking about maybe guys like Gary Payton, who were great defenders back in the day. They called him the glove. He didn't have body and size, but he was a point guard. He was a bigger point guard for that era as well. I think he was like 6'4". But nevertheless, right? These are God given abilities and the talents to understand angles and like, you know, anticipation and things of that nature in order to get your hands on the ball, right? In order to shoot gaps. Like these are things that I'm not sure how you work on those things individually, right? Now, if there are coaches out there that are able to do that, if someone listens to right now, like Kyle, you're full of shit, and there's ways to do this. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying, from my opinion, I'm not sure how to do it, so I'm telling the truth. These are the things I feel like you need, right? So RJ Barrett, they're saying, yo, I'm gonna go work on my defense in the offseason, which they also cut out from the interview where he said OG Anunoby is like one of the best defenders ever. And like, basically they're saying it like, I won't be like that guy. You know what I mean? And like the Raptors fans are so used to having an OG Anunoby around, but like he's gonna go work on defense in the offseason. Best of luck to you, bro. I hope that you become a better defender in the offseason, right? But here's the thing. I don't want to see it for October, November. Okay? First 2 months of the season, we're like, oh yeah, you're an improved defender. Then by December, you're slipping. Then by January, you're back to what you were before. You know what I'm saying? And then you sprinkle in some games here and there. And this isn't a specific thing to RJ Barrett. I'm just saying for the Raptors as a whole, like, you got to go find some dogs that want to play defense, yo. You got to go find some dogs. You want to get better defensively? You got to go do that. That's why when I was saying earlier that like Raptors need to go get some dogs, and like the last dog we had was Fred Van Fleet, but I didn't want to throw any shade at OG Anunoby because he played defense like a dog, yo. You know what I'm saying? He played defense like that. He was in your shorts. Pause. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, this is one of the things that the Raptors are saying for the offseason. Everybody needs to work on defense. Grady, RJ, Scottie. Scottie wants to be a defensive player of the year candidate. And I love the mentality there. I love the mentality there. And the Raptors organization is doing everything in their power to put everything behind Scottie Barnes. Everything. But this is why I wouldn't mind the Raptors finding a dog, got that dog in him in the draft. You know what I'm saying? Go find one of those guys that's gonna push Scottie Barnes in practice. Like I was talking about me and my brethren, yo. Who's gonna guard Scottie Barnes in practice right now to make him better? Who? Who on this team? If OG Anunoby was still here, I'd be like, okay, hell yeah. If we had like a Patrick Beverly, just like a smaller guard that can get up in your shorts and be an agitator, similar to how Gary Trent Jr. can be sometimes, but not really. Not really. Fred Van Fleet could be that guy sometimes, but not really. Still a dog, though. Fred Van Fleet's a dog. Don't get it twisted. But defensively, bro, used to get blown by at the point on the reggie, dog. On the reggie. Well, anyways, my point is, you know, the defense went from good to trash, right? You can correlate that with OG Anunoby leaving and Jakob Poeltl getting injured, your two best defenders outside of Scottie Barnes, right? So now you're basically saying Ochai Agbaji can be a great defender, and maybe he can. He does look like he has some of that, but again, too many nice guys. Too many nice guys. Where's the mean streak in this team? And I was talking about this with Jalen Suggs back in like December or November or something, dog. I was like, yo, this guy puts his money where his mouth is at. Puts his money where his mouth is at. Cause the man talks. But when I see him play, he puts that work in when he plays. Puts that work in. Now he's not as talented as an offensive player, you know, But like the type of mentality there, if you're able to get a guy like that at pick 19, right? Because we don't know what's about to happen with our pick draft lotteries coming up in the next few weeks. We'll see what happens with that. But like at pick 19, that Pacers pick, it might not be a sexy pick, you know. But go get a guy that's a dog, like a Marcus Smart type guy. You know what I'm saying? Now I know the Celtics went and got rid of Marcus Smart, and all of a sudden they're the first seed in the East, and everybody's getting injured in the East anyway. I'm gonna digress for a second because just on the topic, Jimmy Butler went down yesterday, right? Jimmy Butler went down for the Heat. Joel Embiid looks like he's hobbled. Julius Randle is gone. Giannis Antetokounmpo is hurt. There is literally, I can't think of a reason why. If the Celtics do not get to the finals, their coach got to get out of here. Okay? That coach got to get out of here. That path is just set for Boston to be in the final, yo. Anyways, I digress. I am going to do some NBA playoff videos just now. I'm now starting to get back into the swing of things now that the Raptors season's over. I just want to finish up on the Raptors, give y'all a Jonte Porter video, then we talking playoffs, baby. Please like, share, subscribe if you're listening. Do all that stuff. Please get the algorithm going. I know this episode's running kind of long, but listen, this is what we're doing right now, okay? So, we need one of those guys. We need one of those guys. I like the core that we have right now. RJ Barrett looks like a completely different player. I've been talking about this. Obviously, the Raptors management sees it, and you know the results show it when he's out there, right? Emmanuel quickly really starting to come on since was it All-Star break, right? Those guys are great, solid pieces. Those two guys. And then you have Scottie Barnes now, who is your star player. I would argue that he's an emerging star, but the man made an all-star and everything. He was in the mix for most improved player. Sure, I'm not going to argue that point, right? Grady Dick now, he's a part of your future. The things that I was seeing from him without Scottie Barnes on the court, without RJ Barrett on the court, without Emmanuel quickly on the court, at times, like, this guy has not been able to play with a full complement of guys. No Jakob Poeltl. Struggled to start the season, came back, showed resilience. I like Grady. Grady's going to be a part of this future here, man. So we have a good start. But all those guys are really nice guys, man. Really great guys, yo. Really nice guys. you know? Who's gonna come out in the media and say something now? You know what I'm saying? That like it's gonna ruffle some feathers a little bit and just stick up for the man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your Draymond Greens of the world. I'm not saying we need that. You know, your Charles Oakleys of the world. We had him here. We know what that is if you're old enough to remember. It's a different vibe when you got like a man that's like a goon. I'm not saying you gotta be like a literal goon, you know, but like you gotta have the fire in your belly and that type of alpha mentality. You know what I'm saying? Stand up straight, bro. You know what I'm saying? You need one of those guys. You need one of them. One. We need one. Because everybody talked about how great Garrett Temple was, you know, and I like the fact that the Raptors had a couple of vets on this team this year. You know, if it's one thing I think the Raptors did right, right, because they knew like they weren't yet sure at the beginning of the year where they were going to go with this team, right? They were still trying to see who was going to fit, who was going to be here, and they did a good thing by at least having a couple of vets on the squad, right? To start the year, you had Thad Young, Otto Porter, and Garrett Temple all on the squad. Those are three vets with experience in the league, right? So like that's a good look. Now you got rid of two of them, right? Had to happen. I like it. You kept one, and everybody had rave reviews about the guy, which you may not have heard because they cut out a lot of it again in the YouTube channel, Toronto Raptors. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Like we really do appreciate you in like real. But in this matter, I don't understand why you cut everything out, yo. But anyways, Not matter right now. Garrett Temple obviously did some things behind the scenes, showing some leadership to the man them and all that. He got some run time at the end of the season, and I think he's a player that the Raptors should bring back. Right? I believe he is a unrestricted free agent. I believe he was just a 1 year sign. Um, I think the Raptors should bring him back. Right? Masai Ujiri called him a coach. Now, I still think one more season of like a player coach thing, and then if you want to hire him to the staff later, see what that happens. You know what I'm saying? But like, you want to have a guy like that on the bench. You want to have a guy like that in the locker room. So like, shout out to him, man, because obviously got raving reviews. And as fans, we don't see that stuff. We didn't see you walk into the game in a suit. This guy dressed in a suit, fresh every single game. It seemed like, right? Anytime you check the Raptors Twitter account, game day, and they're showing the fits, this man's coming through looking fresh as, you know what I'm saying? Hella fresh. So, high reviews for him, and the bench guy. I think you need to have those guys. And next year, especially since you're bringing in more rookies. And they asked Masai Ujiri about, vets and what you're going to do in free agency. And they even asked him on, like, you missed on some of the last few years. Well, Guan, well, Pop, you know? And basically, Masai Ujiri took accountability for that, you know? And then he also talked about, like, some of the bad luck and stuff like that. But he took accountability, you know? Basically, he said Otto Porter got hurt, you know, took accountability and that they could do better. But also that they're not just going to sign guys for the hell of just signing guys. They want to find guys that are going to help the young players develop. And that's one thing that we cannot get lost with this entire season. No matter how bad this was, no matter how bad this was all about development. Once the OG Anunoby trade was made, I would like, listen, I admit I was hanging on. I was hanging on because after we traded after we traded OG and we had Pascal there for those 4 games and then Poeltl got injured, we looked good. We looked good as a team with those guys. Plus Pascal, we looked good. Right? Now, for the long-term health of the team, I understand that the trade had to happen. The trade had to happen. But like, the reason I was holding on is because I want to win games. I want to win. Why not develop Scottie Barnes? Give him the keys as well. Now you got 2 stars. You tell me that we'd be the only team with 2 stars? Everybody got 2 stars. I don't care what the contracts would have been or whatever thing like that. I'm my tub engine. But at the end of the day, I understand why the Raptors did what they had to do. And it just wasn't working, right? It just wasn't working with the big enough sample size that we saw from the beginning of the season. Even though we got some wins after that trade, before the injury to Poeltl, had to go, had to go. Now I want to get to Darko Rajakovic a little bit here because I've kind of talked on it, I've kind of not, but basically I just want to give my last stance on what I think with Darko Rajakovic. Okay, again, nice guy. Yeah. A lot of nice guys on this team in the front office. We did a good job bringing in high character, nice guys and individuals because the players talked a whole lot about it. And I think they cut it out of some of the interviews. I heard it in a couple on the YouTube channel. But everybody talked about how it's so nice to have a coach that will talk about other things more than basketball. Okay, that's a real quote. I'm paraphrasing, but that's a real quote. It's cool having a coach that will talk about like other things more than basketball. Now, this is where I'm talking about the critical thinking and things of that nature, okay? Not trying to be a jerk end of the season things. But are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Now, it's nice having a personable coach that can relate to the players in some way, shape, or form. But like, bruh, no correlation to that. Finishing 25 and 57. No correlation. If there's none, then I'm bugging. Okay? And I'll hold the L. It's fine. But from my perspective is like there needs to be a fine line. Okay? There needs to be a fine line. And I'm not accusing mans of not working hard and things like that because I think everybody works hard on this team. Right? You're in the NBA, top of top, some of the best. If we're talking about not working hard, we're talking about guys like Ben Simmons and stuff. Real talk, okay? Real talk. But for the majority of NBA players, and I believe the Raptors as well, like they work hard, okay? But how the hell can you talk about other things more than basketball as the head coach of the team? Now, I don't believe that to be true. It may have just been taken out of context. But when you have a situation where you're 25 and 57, I can't let that slide. I can't let that slide because you're also the same guy that was not able to, even though you didn't have the pieces that fit your system perfectly, right? You you weren't able to construct something that worked, that was a semblance of the system, but it wasn't the system, right? Because that's what we saw in the beginning of the year. That's where all the struggles were, right? That's where all the struggles were. You weren't able to communicate with Pascal Siakam to get him motivated, other than his own self motivation, to go play ball in a way that you want him to play ball. So, like, here's my thing with Darko. I don't want it to be come across as no type of way, right? I believe in Darko's system, but I don't believe in Darko Rajakovic as a head coach. That's what I believe. His system, it looks good when it's going. And after we made the trade for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, I told my boy, I'm like, you want to know what? Like, I'm okay with this type of stuff because I want to see what the system looks like when Darko has the players that fit the vision of his system. That fit the vision. And even though we're losing mad games down the stretch, I don't believe that was really so much based on the offense. Like, you're seeing how players are moving in the system, and I like the potential of it because I can see it. When we bust down the Heat by, what is it, 38 or something like that, like after we traded Pascal, that showed me enough. That showed me enough. Now, I know that a whole lot of things happened after that. Man's got injured, and, you know, life happened with a lot of guys. Like Emmanuel quickly talked about his uncle, and obviously we know RJ and his brother, you know, all the best and prayers to those families. But in terms of basketball, like, I think the system can work. Because I also watched FIBA basketball going into last off season, right? And Canada won the bronze. I watched that. And I was like, you want to know what, man? That's a nice brand of basketball. That looks like basketball. Probably the way that Dr. James Naismith intended it to look. Truthfully, right? As time has gone on now, athletes have gotten stronger. Athletes have gotten more athletic and agile and things of that nature. And, you know, the game has evolved. And this is why we love the NBA. When Ant goes up and makes a game saving block at the end of the game, that's due to athleticism. When Ant dunks over a man and jams down and throw it pause, we love it. That's athleticism. But I wouldn't necessarily say that's the way that Dr. Naismith intended it to be. But I'm here for it. You know what I mean? I don't want to downplay none of that. I don't want to downplay none of that. But the things that Darko has in mind, I'm looking forward to see what the next evolution is of this offense. And it's going to be on Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster to bring in the right players that fit this system, because we cannot deviate away from this system. Because when we do deviate away from it, that is when we fail with Darko Rajakovic. That is when we fail. I don't care if that's a popular take or not. That's my view on it. That's my view on it. I believe in his system. I don't believe in him as a coach because he's talking about things that have nothing to do with basketball more than basketball. So the players say. Maybe it's not literally like a 50-50 split. Maybe it's not meant to be like that. Maybe it's just like, wow, this is more than any other coach that I've had that will talk like this. And if that's what it is too, that's fine. I don't really care. Raptors need to win games, and when you're 25 and 57, you've lost 2 of the last 21. So you won 2 of the last 21. Hey man, you're trying to develop these guys as young men and stuff and stuff like that too. I get it, right? This is development. But one thing that I'm watching, and I don't wish no man down the wrong path, eh? I'm not a bad mind person. That's just not how I am. But Masai Ujiri talked about this is a business, right? He talked about this is a business. Now he said that in reference to raising ticket prices for next year. So Raptors fan, if you want to go to games next year, it's gonna cost you more, right? Just a FYI in case you didn't hear what he said, yo. That's that's what he said. Okay. Now when we talk about business, I'm gonna talk about from a different perspective. I'm gonna talk about something that Masai Ujiri already showed me he's willing to do. Who is the assistant coach that's going to emerge for this team in the next 2 seasons? Who? Who's going to be that assistant coach? Because the system works. The system can work, right? Kelly Olynyk talked about it as well in the exit interviews. It could be beautiful basketball. It could be beautiful basketball. It's all about read and react, making cuts. If this player does that, I do this. This player does this, I do that. And it's snap decisions. Point 0.5. Right? Remember that? We haven't talked about 0.5 forever. But anyways, right? The system works. I like the system. I'm willing to invest in the system. Who is the assistant coach that's going to emerge that may have a little tweak to the system here and there? A little tweak to it. But someone's going to have to be able to take over this team once Darko has done his development thing. Because this doesn't look like a coach that's going to win me playoff games. This looks like a coach that's going to get us to the playoffs at some point based on the system, based on the fact that we have done our due diligence through our scouting department and we've drafted the right players that fit the system, that Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster and the rest of the front office are doing everything that they can do to find the right free agents, not just to do it, right? That's what they said, right? All those things need to take into account. But that like this is just what I see. So who's going to be the assistant coach? Where are the Joe Mazzulas on the Raptors staff? Where they at? Is there somebody already there yet? Is Garrett Temple probably in the wings waiting to be a coach? Masai Ujiri called him a coach. Now I'm probably reaching with all that, right? I'm probably reaching. But this stuff happens because Dwayne Casey was not able to get us over the hump, and then we hired the Nick Nurses. Won us a championship. Look what Nick Nurse did last night in Philadelphia. These guys were getting smashed. These guys were getting smashed. They turned it on defensively. And Nicholas Batum, by the way, throwback. I'm sitting there with my wifey watching this game. I'm like, yo, this guy's having the best game he's had in 5 years right now. Philly's going to win this game. Anyways, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But sometimes you got to think in advance. Big picture. Darko said it himself in the exit interview. Big picture. So if we're developing right now, cool. We're developing. I have no issue with any of that. I like the fact that the team, the coaching staff is currently constructed. They are creating a schedule to go out and visit players and visit with their trainers and their coaches, their individual trainers and coaches to work with the team trainers and coaches to get everybody on the same page going into next year. Absolutely wonderful. Love to hear that. Love to hear that because when you're developing, it's not just an in-season process. It is definitely an off-season process. especially when you have a young team like this that you're trying to emerge and you got this nasty taste in your mouth from a 25-57 season, which I'm not sure how nasty that is. I didn't really hear it come across on the mic in the exit interviews, which is why I was saying I just want somebody to say that. you know, I just want somebody to. But at the end of the day, no one can be happy with that if you're a professional. No one can be happy with that if you're a professional. And I know Masai Ujiri is definitely not happy with that. You know, but he said that he's going to take the positives from this year as an organization, and they're going to build on it. And that's where all the nice guy stuff was in there. That's where all the nice guy stuff is in there. So we'll have to see in terms of what happens with these guys in the off season. They got the draft coming up and things like that. And you know, they're asking him. I think the Raptors are pretty comfortable with whatever happens. Michael Grange was asking a question from Sportsnet, like, "Yo, like, how do you feel if you don't get your pick? How do you feel if you do get your pick?" And basically, Masai Ujiri is just like, "Yo, we're comfortable either way, man. We're comfortable either way." And whether that's the truth or not, that was the answer. At the beginning of his interview, he was like so soft spoken and nice. And then by the end, the man cussing, which they didn't put on the Toronto Raptors YouTube. But I'm just on them. But that's okay. They gotta cut that out for the kids, anyways. I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Little small other nuggets. They were asking him, what's the difference between when he took over the Raptors now, before versus now. And I thought he made a very good correlation to the fact that, we know the differences because when it was Dwayne Casey, DeMar DeRozan, and Kyle Lowry, like basically Dwayne Casey was a veteran NBA coach at that point, right? It's not his first stay, you know what I mean? It's not his first thing. Kyle Lowry been around the league for a little bit. DeMar DeRozan been around the league for a little bit, and like those guys had a little bit more maturity to them than this current squad that where we're trying to build around Scottie Barnes, who is a young player, right? So that's understandable. Also, you have a first-time head coach in Darko Rajakovic, so he talked about executing patience with this rebuild. That was like the main theme of Masai Ujiri's press conference, exercising patience. He even said the rebuild in some cases can take 3 to 6 years. But he don't want to wait 6 years for that, but he's gonna execute patience. This is year one now, okay? Don't tell me that this is a half year because he just traded. This is year one. 1 year. Done now. 1 year. Okay, you have Scottie Barnes now. 1 year. Now, they also talked about would you do something to try to expedite the process in the rebuild? And again, patience, patience, patience. Not just going to do something to do it. They're going to look at all different things and see what they come up with. And he also mentioned how he talks to Jeff Weltman every other day. For those who don't know who Jeff Weltman is, he basically used to work for the Raptors. He was the assistant general manager under Masai Ujiri. He left to run his own team, and I believe he's like the president now, president of the Orlando Magic. So he's basically seen and been a part of an entire rebuild. So Masai Ujiri says he picks his brains, and they have studied. They have studied rebuilds in all different sports, not just basketball. Some good, some bad. They've studied it. So as a fan now, I should feel like our team should be somewhat prepared. Our organization should be somewhat prepared to handle this rebuild. And I hope that's the case because that's what you're selling me on, right? I understand that you turn around and say, "Oh, I've never been a part of it or whatever," but you're basically saying that you've turned over every rock trying to figure out what this whole rebuild thing is about. And so far, there are fans out here that can point to some of your mistakes and flaws, and they have grounds to stand on. Grounds, right? Waiting too long to trade trade Fred Van Fleet and getting nothing. You know, they could talk about that. A lot of people are not happy about the return for the Pascal Siakam trade. They could talk about that. You waited too long. Now, in my opinion, I think that this front office deserves some respect, yo. They deserve some time. They deserve some time. Now, I know 2019 was like a year forever ago. You know what I'm saying? It's forever ago. Like we're still living off of that, and I get that, Raptors fans, right? Like that one meant a lot. That one meant a lot, being the only team outside of the United States, knowing that we can't recruit free agents. You know what I'm saying? We had to build it through our own way, and then we had to make this trade, which basically was a gamble on the whole thing, a gamble on the best era of basketball that we've seen ever. And yeah, we got a championship out of it, but then things fell off the rails. This like if anybody's listening right now and like you're not a Raptors fan, it might be hard for you to understand how important this championship was to us, yo. How important it was. I know Boston got 18, Lakers 18, 19, Miami got like 6. No, they got Miami got 4. You know what I'm saying? There's teams that have multiple championships out here. You know, little Raptors with one. But it meant a lot to this organization, yo. It meant a lot. And this is why I think this front office deserves a little bit of leash, yo. A little bit of leash. Now, it's fine that we can call out where they're not doing things the right way. Like, yo, that's what fans are supposed to do, especially when you're trying to get back to winning. We can't just sit back all the time and be like, oh, yeah, this is great. Yeah, we got a team here in Toronto. And in Masai, we trust all day, every day. If you see something you don't like, talk about it. I'm cool with it. I might not agree with everything because sometimes I say some things that you might not agree with, and that's cool. And it's good to have like you know respectful back and forth on matters regarding our basketball team, right? Our basketball team, yo, Raptors fans, yo, fans across the NBA, yo, we can say our team no problem. We buy tickets, we watch the games, we buy the merchandise. It doesn't happen without us. It does not happen without us. So yeah, man, I'm all good with that. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know, that's a bunch of shit about culture and stuff like that. Man, I don't give a damn about all that right now. Right? I don't give a damn about all that right now. This is a young team and they're gonna establish some things for themselves, yo. This ain't got nothing to do with the teams prior. At this point. We're looking forward, as my Yardie friends would say. Looking forward. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so like I don't know, man. They talk about like how are we gonna approach the draft if we do get our draft pick? Best player available is what they say, BAP. But they also been talking about. When I say they, I'm saying Masai and Darko, like backup point guard, something that they're looking at, right? A backup big is something that they're looking at. A wing that can guard is something that they're looking at, right? But then they're also saying that they're not in the position yet from a roster standpoint to be picky and choosy. But at the same time, like when you're building out your draft board, like best player available could sometimes it is based on needs, right? You may rank somebody higher just for the fact that you might value a center over a point guard, right? Who knows? But one of the things that I'll say, and I said this on the last one, and I'm so glad that Masai Ujiri addressed it, right? Because one of the reporters were asking about um whether like they may trade out of this sixth spot or something of that nature, because they're basically saying next year's draft and 2026 draft might be better than this draft, right? And Masai Ujiri said, yo, it is our job to find the players. We don't business about that. It's our job to find the players. There are players that come out of every draft. They said Giannis's draft was supposedly not good, but Giannis was in it. So it's our job to go and find those players. But he also cautioned the Raptors fans. It's not easy to find those needles in the haystack. Scottie Barnes find the best player in the draft like that. It's not easy, especially when you ain't got the first overall pick. So he cautioned us at the same time. But I'm glad that like the Raptors aren't running from this. They're not running from this. So I'm totally cool with however they address this. I'll be looking out for the NBA draft lottery, which is coming, I believe, is May 12th, so in a few weeks, and see where we go from there, man. But they also asked him a lot of questions about Jonte Porter. I am going to do a specific video on Jonte Porter, so please stay tuned for that. So yeah, man, that's basically like my debrief on this whole season, man. Obviously a lot of ups and downs, man, and that deserves context. I was very critical of a lot of different things that happen right now, but it's not a good season. So, like, we should be critical. Why are we not critical when we're 25 and 57? Seriously. Seriously. Why, like, why? Why are we not critical? Because we like Scottie Barnes? I like Scottie Barnes too, but, like, bruh, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You got to stay healthy when we need you, right? If this type of leadership ain't your type of leadership, then don't force it. You know what I'm saying? Because people are not gonna respect you forcing to be something that that like you're not. You know what I'm saying? They're not. And like from what I can see here, Scottie Barnes on the court, in between the lines, in the locker room, probably a top notch leader, yo. Top notch leader, right? Top notch. But like when you're looking for like the guys that are gonna give you the quotes, right? The guys that are gonna mix it up a little bit and stuff like that. You need a dog, man. You need a dog. Raptors, Masai, Ujiri, them, go get us a dog, yo. Add to this team. Make them be a little bit more scary. You know? We need a mean streak, yo. Too much nice guys upon the team, yo. Too much nice guys, man. So, anyways, yeah, yo, that is it for today. This one ran a little bit over. But, anyways, I'm going to timestamp everything. But if you made it to the end of this video watching the whole thing through, salute. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And if you're not subbed, please sub up, like, share, comment down below. I had a lot to say. I had a lot to say today. So comment, right? Comment. And yo, man, you don't like some of the things I said? Hey, man, that's why I'm here. You like some of the things I said? You be like, yo, we need more of that. That's why I'm here. Anyways, yeah, man, you know the flex. And it's me, guy.